It looks like I'm about to have my most controversial movie take of the year. What's going on, guys? I'm Chris, and welcome back to another video. So today I've got my review of 28 Years Later, the third film in the 28 series. 28 Days Later was the first, then we got 28 Weeks Later, now we have 28 Years Later. Danny Boyle's back to direct, Alex Garland is back to write. They first paired up for that first movie back in the early 2000s, and we've got a new entry here. But does it work? Does it deliver? I have a lot to say. Before I get into it, hit that like button, comment down below your thoughts on the movie if you've seen it, your expectations if you've not yet watched it, and of course subscribe and hit that notification bell to be notified for all my future videos. But when it comes to 28 Years Later, it's a movie with early reviews that are raving. I think the movie's at around the 93 on Rotten Tomatoes, so lots of critics have watched and recommended the film. I can't do that, and I'm gonna come right out and say it. Now, I gotta give you my history with this series before I get into the review. That's only fair. I just watched these movies for the first time. The first two this past week in preparation, so I'm very new to the franchise. I haven't been waiting for this movie for years, didn't have monumental expectations like a lot of people. I just went and watched it for what it was, and so I quite liked both those first two movies. I have reviews on Letterboxd if you want to go follow me over there for my actual in-depth thoughts, but liked both, so I had moderate expectations for this movie. I mean, the trailer was fantastic. I think it won an award for like best trailer of the year, and so I go in and I want it to be on the level of those first two, at least the first, right? And I walk out and I can't say that it is. I can't. Now, this movie's not an outright stinker, but I was appalled as the credits rolled at some of the creative choices made. They swung and they missed for me big time. But I gotta talk about the pros here. I'll start with like the first act. I think that's the strongest part of this movie. The first 30 minutes, we'll call it, I was all in. I mean, they established this new part of the world in this universe where our main characters live on this island that's only accessible via this pathway that you can only walk on during low tide. So if it's high tide, the ocean, the waters actually cover it up. And so they're fully secluded from the infected or the zombies, if you will. And I really liked the isolation aspect out the gate. You can tell Danny Boyle's directing. He's got some of his distinct shots, and the editing style as well is very much him, and he does some things that I don't like when I talk about the cons. But the setup here is that Aaron Taylor Johnson is like the father figure to this character named Spike, and he's going out to get his first kill. And I was pretty on board with that setup. As they venture out, danger ensues. There's some intense ass moments. I mean, one in particular that's beautifully shot with a nighttime sky and a certain foot chase takes place, and I was like, this is white knuckle stuff. Like, this is what I signed up for. And then with each passing act, the next two acts of the movie, it just lessens in quality. The movie kind of does a 180, in my opinion, and it doesn't end up delivering what is set up in the first two acts. Drastic tonal shift. It's almost like there were two movies in one, the Aaron Taylor Johnson father-son movie, and then the main kid going back to the mainland with his mother to try and find a certain someone to get help. I don't want to say too much here, but there are two movies in one here, and that's very clear. It's frustrating. I do wish that I could have been more emotionally invested in the back half of this movie, but I just wasn't. The performances are great. You know, Jodie Comer, Aaron Taylor Johnson, when he's in the movie. Ralph Fiennes in the film in a minimal role, but he still is great when he's there. And the main kid who plays Spike, he's great too. So it's not a problem of the performances. There's competent filmmaking. Certain decisions are just out of left field. Like, I enjoyed the setup for this movie. The trailer, though, kind of pitched a movie that didn't come to fruition, in my opinion. Once you watch the movie, you'll understand what I mean. But what unfolds is a very bizarre watch. The final 10 minutes, I can't get out of my mind. It just went way off the rails. In fact, each passing minute in this movie at a certain point just got more and more ridiculous and felt tonally off with not only the other two entries in the franchise, but the first act of this movie. It was just so drastically different than what I thought it was going to be based on what was set up, and I'm pretty disappointed by that. Like, the final 10 minutes alone completely took me out of the movie. If you haven't seen it, you don't know what I'm talking about, obviously. If you have, you know. It reminded me a lot of like this dumb cut in the movie It Chapter 2, where music just blasts randomly, and I couldn't help but bust out laughing, and I felt kind of similar here, where such a random, jarring thing happens. It's out of the blue. And I was just like, that's how the movie's ending? On top of that, the story that's set up is incomplete. And apparently this is the first of a potential trilogy. I think the next one, called The Bone Temple, comes out in January, but there's a third also in development. So the main story, I mean, yeah, technically there's an end point, but there's a lot left open, which was frustrating to me as well, especially because it didn't feel earned to have sort of an open ending at the end of the film. But I was just frustrated, I think, tonally, that the first act of the movie sets up something that's awesome, and then it transitions into something that's completely batshit crazy. I mean, they have gone all in on expanding, I guess, the lore of the infected, of the zombies. It reminded me of The Last of Us in a sense, as there are various types of infected now. There's like alphas, so they went full freaking Teen Wolf at one point. And I'll just say this, there's a lot of swinging in this movie. A lot of full frontal nudity, so brace yourself for that. But I mean, I couldn't believe some of the dumb things this movie does. It, again, when I say it's tonally off, it's because it feels like two movies that are trying to fit into one. I was much more a fan of the father-son survival story in the first act. That felt more in line with the first two movies. What we ended up getting is like this heavy emotional journey of a mother and son, and trying to learn to deal with death. What is our purpose in life? Like, how do we move on? It's all of these really deep emotional ideas, but I don't feel like this was the correct movie to explore those in personally, especially after you have this intense sort of zombie movie set up in the first act, and then you end your movie after this emotionally draining scene. You end your movie with the goofiest shit ever. I mean, it feels like a joke. It's almost like I got punked, and then the whole movie was a gimmick set up for some goofball ending that's so out of left field, left a bad taste in my mouth. I mean, I was like, what the hell am I watching right now? And I'm not going to give a pass just because it's Danny Boyle and Alex Garland. Like, I don't understand the vision at all. The creative choice made at the end of this movie baffles me to my core, and not for the better. Just because it's wacky, weird, different, I don't care. Like, that is, they went too far, and it was so unwarranted, in my opinion. The final act of this movie just went too over the top at times. I couldn't take the movie seriously when it wanted me to, which was frustrating. I mean, the ideas are there. There's a great concept at the core of 28 Years Later. It's set up really well in the first act, but the middle act and kind of leading into the third act is a completely different movie than what you're watching at the beginning, and the final moments, I mean, truly almost overshadow the overall experience I had with the movie because of how bafflingly stupid they were. I cannot believe, I was stunned as the credits rolled. I was like, that's how you're gonna end this movie? I don't think you could predict it if you haven't seen the movie. It's so random and just does not fit in with the overall film. I was shocked, truly shocked. So, I mean, I could say this is a mixed bag, but also I'm not positive on the movie. I'm negative overall. I think it's like a 5 out of 10 for me because it doesn't hold a candle to the other two films. With the first 28 Days, the character work is there, and I think they do a good job of having these intimate moments between characters. The second film ups the action, but you still feel the stakes, and the opening's incredible. And then here, it's got the weakest opening that's kind of just shoehorned in by the end of the movie. The entire movie kind of disregards a really important event from 28 Weeks Later. So I'm wondering if they're decanonizing things. That was frustrating. In terms of consistency across the franchise, is it disregarding and not acknowledging 28 Weeks Later? Because that would be a foolish thing to do. It kind of feels like that. So it's frustrating, honestly. I'm glad that I don't have like some huge emotional connection to the franchise. I've seen them all for the first time within the past week. So it's not like I grew up on these movies and been waiting 20 years to see this movie. Nothing like that. And I'm glad because I am pretty underwhelmed by this one. You know, there's more movies coming out. So hopefully they can maybe right the wrongs of this one. But I can't get past how many, you know, random inserts there were of these ambiguous shots of, you know, the infected out in this red lighting, or these like hyper stylized cuts of sort of obscure shots of characters, one character wearing a mask. Like, I get what they're going for. They're trying to like plant the seeds for what's to come, and it just all was a bit too obscure, ambiguous, if you will, for my liking. And so that kind of took me out of the movie. The editing style as well, like it worked in certain moments, but there was also a lot of the times where characters, the infected would get like shot with a bow and arrow, and then the frame rate would increase, and there would be like these messy jump cuts, and it just didn't work for me at all. So I take issue with a lot of stylistic choices here. I take issue with the fact that it feels like multiple movies are going to war with each other, and the tonal clashing constantly, it took me out. If I could have just watched the first 30 minutes as like a short, I think I would love this. But we got the rest of the movie and the dumbass ending, and that kind of just, soured the whole experience. So I'm at like a 5 out of 10, and that's how I feel. It's a competently enough made movie, no denying that, but I'm factoring in my emotions, how I feel, and then that's how I rate movies. So yeah, that's my opinion. I'm pretty underwhelmed by this movie. I don't understand the praise, but I do think that audiences won't be as high on this one. But what do you guys think of 28 years later? Let me know down below and hit that like button, subscribe, and hit that notification bell, and be on the lookout for more videos coming very soon. But until next time, I'll see you guys later.